Stop. Listen. Pay attention. Chosen one. This is not background noise. This is not another voice among many. You are being addressed directly, intentionally. Because what is happening around you is not ordinary, and the moment you are in cannot be overlooked. You have felt it, haven't you? The weight pressing on your mind, the subtle exhaustion that doesn't come from sleep deprivation. The tension that seems to coil through every decision. Perhaps you've wondered if you are imagining the pressure, if your fatigue signals weakness, or if the isolation you sometimes experience is a result of missteps you cannot name. None of this is by accident. You are not here to be left guessing. You are here to understand what is unfolding around you, to witness clarity where confusion once reigned. Chosen one. The truth is that your life has crossed thresholds that others cannot see. The lines you have walked along, the edges you have navigated, these were never marked for casual observation. Yet something shifted the moment you stepped across them. A subtle recognition that registers in ways invisible to the untrained eye. This is not danger. This is marking. Your movement, deliberate or unconscious, has set events in motion that are aligning, calibrating, and responding to the reality you inhabit. You may have noticed the pattern before, days that felt heavier than they should. Moments where focus required more effort than expected. A sense of being tested not by circumstance, but by unseen alignment. You felt stretched, pulled, and yet capable. That tension, that strain has not been punishment. It has been preparation. It has been recognition. And soon it will be undeniable to you why every moment that seemed random was anything but. Right now you may still be uncertain what this marking means. You may feel the pull of anxiety or the echo of doubt. That is expected, but it does not define you. It is a signal, not a verdict. You are being observed not by judgment, but by consequence, by calibration, by the acknowledgement that your presence, your choices, your stability have significance beyond the ordinary. This message is intentional. It was not sent to the crowd. It is personal. It is for you, and it is meant to be heard fully, without distraction, without hesitation. The moments ahead will reveal more, but for now, pause. Recognize the weight you have carried, the clarity that comes from endurance, and the fact that crossing this unseen line has set something into motion. You are at a threshold. What follows will build on the foundation you have maintained in silence. Chosen one, remain with this awareness. Allow your mind to steady. The purpose of this transmission is not to alarm you, but to illuminate what has already occurred. What you have crossed cannot be undone, and the acknowledgement of it is the first step toward understanding the depth of your path. You are ready to see why the invisible currents were converging around you. You are ready to understand what it means that your movement has already been noted. This is the beginning, not the explanation. The clarity will come piece by piece as you proceed. Your focus now matters more than your questions. Stand with it. Breathe. And prepare to recognize the truth of what you have already crossed. You may have wondered whether this truly applies to you or whether you are simply projecting meaning onto ordinary struggle. You do not need to doubt that anymore. This message is not broad. It is not vague. It is not drifting in hope of landing on someone who might relate. It is directed, defined, and specific. It belongs where it is resting now. You are not just someone passing through difficulty. You are not merely enduring life because life is demanding. You are positioned with intention, and everything you have experienced has interacted with you not by accident, but because of who you are becoming. You may not have formally labeled yourself as different. You may not have walked around calling yourself chosen. Yet the patterns of your life, the weight of your inner world, and the way life responds to you tell the truth even when your words do not. This is for you because the events you've gone through did not simply happen around you. They happened to you and against you in ways that revealed something deeper. While others bend quickly, you stabilize. While others collapse into chaos, you adapt. Even when you feel fractured internally, your outer actions remain coherent. You continue functioning. You continue thinking. You continue moving forward, even when every part of you feels strained. That is not coincidence. That is structure. There is something inside you that does not surrender easily. Not the loud kind of defiance. Not pride. Not stubbornness fueled by ego. Something quieter. Something consistent. A built-in resistance to being broken. A natural alignment towards standing back up even when you are tired of standing. You do not activate it consciously most of the time. It rises on its own. You don't command it. It answers. This is why you have often felt unusual inside your own experiences. You feel the same exhaustion others feel. You feel the same confusion, the same emotional heaviness, the same frustration. But beneath it, there is a center you do not fully understand. Something in you holds even when your mind questions everything. Something stays upright when your emotions feel unstable. This is not denial. This is not suppressing reality. This is a deeper stability that was formed long before the moment you needed it. And every recent experience has been revealing that stability to you even when you did not realize that was what was happening. You are not being flattered. You are being identified. You are not being hyped. You are being named calmly, clearly, deliberately. You are not ordinary in how you withstand pressure. And what has touched your life recently has interacted with that identity directly because it recognizes the structure within you. The sensations you have carried, the tension in your chest, the fatigue that sleep cannot erase, the subtle alertness that never fully relaxes. These are not flaws. They are signals. Signals that the environment around you, both visible and invisible, is interacting with something inside you that refuses to collapse. That pressure you felt is not random. It is not punishment. It is a notification. Something is moving, and you are moving through it with awareness, even if that awareness feels partial. You may have questioned yourself often. You may have asked why your body feels heavy while your mind races, why certain days feel insurmountable while others pass in relative calm. These contradictions have likely caused confusion, frustration, and even self-judgment. What you are learning now is that these sensations were never meant to be misread. They are a form of feedback, a code that the inner workings of your resilience send to your conscious mind. Every time you feel the energy drain slightly faster than you expect, every time you notice the weight pressing on your attention, it is a signal that the conditions surrounding you are testing your coherence. The body and mind respond first. They respond instinctively. And yet you continue to navigate daily life without collapsing. You may have overlooked this pattern, considering it ordinary endurance. But in reality, your endurance is measured against forces that most people would never notice, let alone withstand. Your emotions, when they rise, are not failures. Your uncertainty is not a lack of clarity. They are indicators. They tell you where the energy is focused, where the resistance exists, and where the unseen currents are pressing. They guide you. They alert you. They prepare you for the next moment, not as a punishment, but as a messenger. This is why self-judgment has been misplaced. The physical fatigue, the mental tightness, the emotional tension, all of it has a purpose. It is not a flaw to be fixed. It is a signal to be recognized, to be observed, to be understood. What you have interpreted as imbalance is in fact a map of your interaction with the world in its current configuration. It is the hidden language of transition. Recognizing this changes everything. When you see these experiences as signals rather than problems, the confusion begins to dissolve. You stop asking why you feel what you feel, and begin asking what it is telling you. You begin to see the pattern beneath the surface. You begin to understand that your body, mind, and emotions are aligned in a way that no casual observation could capture. Chosen one. This reframing is essential. It shifts the narrative from fault to awareness, from doubt to recognition. And it prepares you to see the next layer, the structure of unseen pressure that has been testing, shaping, and confirming your stability without your conscious command. Now, it is time to name what has been operating around you, quietly, deliberately, and with a kind of structure you may not have noticed. The pressure you have felt, subtle, persistent, yet never fully overwhelming, is not random stress. It is the presence of unseen forces, coordinated circumstances, and precise timing that together form a pattern of challenge and observation. You have been interacting with conditions that were organized in ways you could not see. Yet your responses were measured, composed, and functional. This is not dramatic exaggeration. There are no explosions, no battles, no cinematic duels. What has been occurring is far subtler. It is a layering of influence delays, where timing could have been immediate interruptions that tested focus, distractions that drew attention away from what mattered most. Each of these events arrived in a pattern, not by coincidence, not by luck. You noticed perhaps the odd alignment of days when energy was low, or when small frustrations seemed to accumulate unnaturally. Those alignments were intentional. You remained functional. Despite the strain, you made decisions, you completed tasks, you held relationships together, you maintained coherence even when the tension in your body and mind signaled otherwise. This is a rare observation, to be under the weight of subtle opposition and still operate in a way that appears seamless to anyone observing externally. You were tested, calibrated, and monitored not by threat, but by circumstance designed to measure, refine, and confirm your internal stability. The timing has been crucial. Each pressure point has arrived in sequence, forming a kind of unseen architecture. Recent weeks, or perhaps months, have demonstrated this most clearly. You may have recognized moments where everything seemed to demand more than you could give, yet you continued. You may have felt the invisible hand of coordination pressing against decisions you wanted to make, but ultimately your path remained intact. Even now, this pressure has not ceased entirely. It lingers as a reminder you have been navigating forces that are not visible, forces that are aligned with a purpose larger than casual circumstance. The contrast is important. You did not collapse. You did not lose coherence. You did not act in panic. You maintained internal regulation even when external conditions might have prompted disorder. Chosen one. This is not to induce pride or exaggeration. It is to clarify reality. You have been under an invisible structure of pressure, and your ability to remain functional within it is the evidence of what has been shaping quietly within you. Understanding this is necessary before we break down the experience further, categorizing the exact pressure points, seeing how each one impacted you, and recognizing the stability you brought to every moment consciously and unconsciously. The next step will guide you through the anatomy of these pressures. You will see clearly how each aspect, doubt, fear, energy drain, isolation, delay, interacted with your natural stability, revealing your resilience not as a choice, but as a structural reality. Let us slow this moment and walk through what has truly been happening to you. Not in abstract terms, not as a vague reflection, but in grounded categories that mirror real experience. Because the invisible pressure you have endured has not been formless. It has come through specific channels, affecting your thoughts, your emotions, your energy, your relationships, and your timing. And in each of these areas, you remained stable in ways that reveal far more about you than the pressure itself ever could. One of the most persistent pressure points has been doubt. Not loud, chaotic doubt. Quiet doubt. The kind that whispers instead of shouts. It is the kind that sits in the back of your mind when you are doing well and asks, "Are you sure it appears when you make decisions, when you choose your direction, when you attempt to trust yourself?" This doubt has tried to wear you down, not by attacking your competence, but by eroding your certainty piece by piece. It made you second-guess things you already knew. It made you revisit choices you had already resolved. Yet even when you questioned yourself internally, your life shows something important: you still moved. You did not freeze permanently. You may have paused, but you continued. You may have wondered, but you acted anyway. Your doubt did not dismantle you. It revealed your ability to function even while questioning. Then there has been fear, not terror, not obvious panic. More like a subtle unease, a tension that sits beneath your breathing. It shows up as pressure in your chest, heaviness around your mind, a sense that something could go wrong if you misstep. This fear attaches itself to uncertainty, to risk, to vulnerability. It does not want to paralyze you. It wants to shrink your world. It wants to make you move smaller, softer, less boldly. Yet you did not disappear. You did not become invisible to your own life. You continued showing up. You continued trying. You continued stretching toward things that mattered to you, even with unease sitting beneath your ribs. That is not ordinary. That is regulated courage. Real courage is not loud. It is quiet persistence under sustained emotional pressure. Energy has been another battlefield. You have felt drained at times without clear explanation. You wake up carrying weight instead of just your body. You reach the end of a day feeling like you lifted more than anyone can see. It is not laziness. It is not lack of motivation. It is the cost of carrying internal processing while still living externally. Many people crumble when life requires both at once. You did not. You kept moving forward with depleted reserves, still functioning, still present, still responsible. That kind of endurance is not accidental. It is structural strength. Isolation has also been part of this structure. Either you have found yourself physically alone more than usual, emotionally misunderstood, or internally separated from environments that should have felt safe. That sense of disconnection can be incredibly destabilizing. The human mind craves belonging. Yet you have endured seasons where you felt unseen, unheard, or unsupported, and rather than dissolving into bitterness or helplessness, you stabilized internally. You became your own grounding point. Even when you longed for connection, you did not fall apart without it. That strength is uncommon. Most people unravel when support fades. You did not. You continued to stabilize your own center. And then there has been delay. Plans slowed, progress stretched. Things that should have moved quickly progressed in fragments instead. Movement stalled at moments where you felt ready. This is one of the most difficult pressures because delay is not loud enough to fight, yet it is strong enough to wear down patience and hope. It tests endurance more than ability. And still you did not surrender to despair. You did not abandon everything. You remained, perhaps frustrated, perhaps tired, but present, still willing to try, still willing to believe in movement, even when movement refused to meet your timeline. That says everything about your internal foundation. When you place these experiences side by side, something becomes clear. You faced doubt, yet you acted. You sensed fear, yet you continued. You carried exhaustion, yet you functioned. You endured isolation, yet you stayed emotionally alive. You confronted delay, yet you did not abandon your future. This is not normal psychological fragility. This is psychological coherence. This is emotional steadiness. This is resilience that is not loud, not dramatic, not boastful. It simply exists. And it held you together while the world quietly tested every fracture that might have broken someone else. By breaking this down into categories, you begin to see that the pressures were not random annoyances. They were systematic. They targeted the very systems human beings depend on to remain stable. Identity, courage, energy, belonging, time. These are the pillars that collapse most people when pressed too hard. Yet yours held. They bent at moments. They strained. But they did not collapse. That is the truth you need to recognize. Nothing about your endurance has been accidental. Nothing about your steadiness has been luck. It has been structure meeting resistance and remaining intact. And acknowledging that is not about ego. It is about clarity. Because when you truly see what you have survived without losing yourself, you begin to understand why what marked you matters. You begin to recognize that the unseen line you crossed was not merely symbolic. It identified what was already inside you. You did not pass through this because you were untouched. You passed through it because you were built differently than you once believed. And seeing that clearly changes how you interpret everything that has been happening. Now take a moment to review everything that has just unfolded. Look at the sequence of experiences you have endured and notice them as a complete pattern rather than isolated events. Doubt, fear, energy, drain, isolation, delay. Each one did not act in isolation. Each tested a specific aspect of your internal structure, yet none broke it. That is the reality you must hold firmly in your mind. You did not rely on luck, on coincidence, or on the kindness of circumstance. You relied on yourself, whether consciously or unconsciously. This reflection is important because most people interpret survival as chance. They see endurance and think it was luck, timing, or external intervention. Not you. You see the sequence, you feel the pattern. You know what remained constant, and you know what adjusted. Your clarity in observing these pressures shows a coherence that few can claim. You did not just withstand events, you navigated them with integrity. Your actions, your decisions, your ability to remain functional. These were deliberate responses, even if they felt instinctive at the time. Think about it. You have maintained internal regulation across multiple dimensions of pressure without the collapse that would be considered normal under such conditions. You did not shut down emotionally when doubt whispered. You did not flee when fear applied weight. You did not pause indefinitely when energy drained. You did not spiral under isolation. You did not surrender to delay. Instead, you maintained presence, coherence, and functionality. And that is the most revealing fact of all. You are capable of sustained operation under conditions that destabilize the majority. Reflecting on this also clarifies another truth. You do not need external validation to recognize this strength. You do not need applause, recognition, or commentary to confirm that you functioned well under pressure. This is internal, structural, and real. It is observable in the consequences of your actions, in the continuity of your life, and in the way your focus persisted despite fatigue, confusion, and tension. The world may not notice, and yet the effect is undeniable. It is crucial that you remove all explanations of chance or accident. There is nothing random about the steadiness you have demonstrated. Everything you have passed through has interacted with the capabilities you possess, testing, revealing, and confirming them. This is evaluation, not interpretation. This is a factual recognition. You remained coherent while pressure operated on multiple fronts. Chosen one. Now, you are beginning to understand the magnitude of what you carried without realizing it. This review is not a measure of superiority. It is a measure of reality. Most people would have collapsed in at least one of these dimensions. You did not. You remained grounded, adaptive, and operational. And seeing this pattern in totality allows you to acknowledge the depth of your internal resilience. This is the moment to internalize the fact that what you have endured is exceptional, not because it makes you better, not because it elevates you, but because it situates you within a rare category of human response. Many people break, some bend, most wobble. You remained functional, coherent, and present. That clarity, that understanding will carry you forward as you continue to navigate life's pressures, both seen and unseen. Consider this: the stability you demonstrated is not extraordinary in a supernatural sense. It is uncommon, yes, but it is the natural result of what has been cultivated within you over time. Most people, when confronted with even a fraction of the pressures you have faced, falter. They react in ways that compromise clarity, coherence, and calm. They bend under fatigue, surrender to fear, or succumb to frustration. You did not. You remained present, functional, and responsive. That is rare, but it is not about being better. It is about being structured differently internally, quietly, without need for recognition. This comparison is important because it frames your experience in context. You are not elevated above others in some abstract hierarchy. You are not superior in an ego-driven sense. You are uncommon in the way you maintain alignment under pressure. You operate with coherence when most people cannot. You navigate complexity without collapse when others crumble under simplicity. That is the distinction. Not superiority, not judgment, simply rarity. And recognizing rarity without exaltation is crucial. Because the moment you begin to see yourself as better than or above is the moment clarity becomes clouded. Your stability is remarkable precisely because it exists quietly beneath the surface in conditions that do not reward it with recognition. It is structural. It is intrinsic. It does not need applause to be validated. And it does not require comparison to others to be acknowledged. You have likely observed, even consciously, how many around you react when faced with doubt, fear, exhaustion, isolation, or delay. You have noticed the flinches, the breakdowns, the disorientation. You may have even thought at times that these failures were inevitable. They are not a flaw in others, they are the common human response. And when you see that, you begin to recognize your own internal consistency more clearly. You see the contrast without judgment. You see the rarity without ego. You simply see the reality of how you operate. Chosen one. This awareness situates you in a unique space. You are part of a small percentage of people who maintain coherence under layered pressure. You do not need to activate anything to demonstrate it. You do not need to perform or prove. Your steadiness is your baseline. That is the profound difference between you and those who falter. Your internal structure is not conditional. It is inherent. Understanding this comparison allows you to integrate your experience into your identity without embellishment, without exaggeration. You can now recognize that your ability to remain functional is not miraculous. It is rare. It is structural. And it is observable in the way your life continues, in the decisions you make, and in the clarity you bring to moments when most would falter. Now let us clarify something fundamental about who you are and how you operate. Your strength is not something you turn on in moments of challenge. It is not a tool you deploy when the world becomes difficult. It is not a temporary reserve you access under stress. It is your baseline. It is the way your mind, body, and emotions are organized. This is why you have been able to function under sustained pressures that would destabilize most people. This coherence is not reactive. It is structural. You have been prepared over time without realizing it. The experiences you endured, the patience you cultivated, the self-regulation you developed, these have formed a maturity that allows you to remain intact in the circumstances that would unsettle others. You do not require heightened awareness or extraordinary effort to maintain your balance. You are already built to endure, to stabilize, to operate calmly, even when every variable around you is unpredictable. This is also why your endurance feels effortless at times. You may have questioned how you continue to navigate tension without obvious strain. You may have wondered why others around you crumble under minor pressures while you persist. It is not luck. It is not external validation. It is a natural consequence of the internal coherence that has been forming quietly inside you. You are prepared. You are capable. You are structured for stability. This realization is grounding. It helps you separate what is conditional from what is intrinsic. Your reactions are not heroic performances. They are evidence of preparation, resilience, and internal organization. They are proof that your identity is aligned with consistency, calm, and functional coherence. You are not being called to extraordinary feats. You are being called to recognize the foundation that already exists. Understanding this also locks in your identity firmly, but gently. You do not need to compare yourself to others to validate your stability. You do not need external confirmation to prove your endurance. You are by default coherent under pressure. That is the reality. That is the truth. And acknowledging it allows you to navigate the next stages of your journey with confidence, without ego, and without unnecessary tension. Chosen one. The clarity here is simple but profound. Your strength is baseline. Your coherence is intrinsic. You are prepared for the pressures you will encounter, not because you have trained consciously for each scenario, but because your inner structure has already been shaped to sustain integrity. Recognize it. Own it internally. Let it inform how you move through your days. This awareness is not a call to action yet. It is a call to understanding. It is a moment to settle into the reality that you are already capable, already aligned, already resilient. And from this grounded awareness, you can begin to integrate practical orientation ways to live fully while sustaining this stability in daily life. Now that you understand your intrinsic stability, it is time to integrate this awareness into practical daily life. This is not about hypervigilance or forcing yourself into unnatural discipline. It is about grounding balance and subtle guidance that allows you to maintain coherence without overexertion. There are several perspectives to adopt that will help you navigate what comes next while remaining centered. First, rest is essential. This is not simply sleep. Though adequate sleep is important, it is also the kind of rest that allows your mind and body to recover from subtle pressures, the moments where you step back from stimulation, reflection, and obligations to reset your internal equilibrium. Rest is not indulgence, it is strategy. By prioritizing real rest, you honor the structure within you, allowing your internal coherence to remain intact and responsive rather than strained. Second, discernment matters. Your awareness of patterns, pressures, and subtle signals is heightened naturally. Use it. Observe what is occurring around you without judgment. Separate what requires action from what is merely informational. Not every tension demands a response. Not every signal demands intervention. Your discernment allows you to navigate pressures efficiently, addressing what is essential and letting go of what is peripheral. Third, boundaries are practical tools, not limitations. Protecting your energy, attention, and focus does not isolate you. It ensures that the internal structure you rely on is not compromised unnecessarily. Boundaries can be simple, limiting exposure to unnecessary conflict, managing how you engage with energy-draining tasks, and ensuring your environment supports your functional coherence. These small, deliberate choices amplify the natural stability you already possess. Fourth, patience is key. The pressures, delays, and unexpected events you have faced will continue to appear in various forms. Do not confuse movement for urgency or chaos for risk. Patience allows your internal system to respond rather than react. It reinforces your baseline stability and ensures that every action you take is measured, purposeful, and aligned with the larger sequence of your life. Fifth focus remains your anchor. Amid distractions, uncertainties, or subtle challenges, maintain attention on what aligns with your purpose and priorities. Focus is not rigidity. It is a gentle but deliberate channeling of energy toward meaningful outcomes. By sustaining attention where it matters, you prevent external pressures from diluting your internal coherence. Finally, integration is the quiet practice of connecting your awareness with your everyday actions. Recognize signals without judgment. Adjust as needed. Allow rest, discernment, boundaries, patience, and focus to guide behavior without forcing it. This approach ensures that your stability becomes lived experience, not merely recognition. You are not performing these principles. You are embodying them naturally, aligned with the structure that has already been forming inside you. Chosen one, by adopting these perspectives, you create a framework for your life that honors both the pressures you have endured and the coherence you have maintained. You are prepared not only to withstand what comes next, but to navigate it with calm awareness, functional strength, and subtle mastery. These practices do not change who you are. They allow who you are to operate fully and consistently. Chosen one. Now let us bring closure to this transmission. There is nothing more to prove, nothing more to justify. You have crossed lines unseen, endured pressures unnoticed, and maintained coherence that few could sustain. You are not being asked to do more to earn recognition, because recognition is not the point. The point is acknowledgement, internal calm, and certain that you have already carried what needed to be carried and remained intact. Remember this: your steadiness is your identity. Your coherence under pressure is your baseline. Your endurance is structural, not performative. These are not just words. They are facts reflected in every decision you have made, every challenge you have met, and every moment you have persisted without collapse. You do not need to convince anyone of this. You need only acknowledge it for yourself. 3 affirmations will help seal this realization: I am steady. I am prepared. I remain intact under pressure. Speak them quietly. Let them resonate internally and allow their truth to settle within you. They are not promises to achieve. They are acknowledgments of what you already embody. If you recognize this truth, signal it. Leave the code 777 in the comments, or simply write, I remember. Let this be a quiet affirmation of awareness, a subtle confirmation that you see yourself clearly, without exaggeration, without ego, without external pressure. Continue your journey with calm certainty. Let your awareness guide your decisions. Let your internal structure carry you through challenges with measured response, coherence, and presence. Subscribe to this channel to receive the next message, the next layer of understanding when it arrives. You are not being hurried. You are being prepared. You are not being tested randomly. You are being named for what you already are. Chosen one, remain grounded in this truth. The pressures will continue in various forms, but your internal stability is the constant that no circumstance can undo. You are ready, you are steady, you are intact, and that is enough.